Today, I'm going to show you how the podcasts I edit go from sounding like this
Classroom with auditorium.
when
and
I
we
first got
turned
there
it into a venue.
to this.
Classroom.
It was basically a giant classroom.
Classroom with auditorium.
When
and
I
we
first got
turned
there,
it into a venue.
So while it's not the most complicated of projects, editing a podcast can still have its challenges, especially if you're inexperienced in the audio field. For someone such as myself, editing a podcast is nothing compared to recording a 10-piece band or mixing a 7-song project for somebody. It's not that much in comparison, but again, if you're inexperienced with audio, a podcast can be a little daunting because the only thing you have going for you with the podcast is the audio. Some cases you have video, but an audio is the key thing. Whenever people are taking in podcasts, whatever platform they're on, they're listening. Having professional sounding audio that is clear and just sounds pleasing to the ear is important because people will want to listen to you more if you're pleasant to listen to. I know personally it might be superficial, but if I am listening to a podcast and it doesn't sound good, I'm probably not going to pay that much attention or even listen to it much longer. So having a good sounding podcast is key to its success. That being said, it doesn't have to be difficult to make your podcast sound good. So I'm going to show you the 5 plugins that I like to use when editing podcasts. Before getting into the video, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to leave a like and comment down below. Tell me what you think about this video. Do you find it helpful? Do you not? Do you want more videos like this about podcasts or just general mixing? Let me know. And be sure to subscribe. It helps out my channel a lot. So to start with, the first plugin that I throw on any of my signal chains is the Clarity VX. Now, it doesn't have to be the Clarity VX from Waves. I just use it because it's a good noise suppressor that helps clean up background noise, any hums you hear, things like that. There are noise suppressors that are available depending on what DAW you use to mix. I know, especially if you're doing video, DaVinci Resolve has some built-in plugins in their Fairlight audio mixing section, and there is a noise reduction plugin on there that's pretty good, so you could use that one, and DaVinci Resolve is free to use. But the whole importance of it is to get rid of background noise. Sometimes there's a little bit of room noise, like if there's an AC unit running or someone walking around upstairs, or even the neighbor next door is just making a little noise. It helps control the whole atmosphere of the podcast, which is important because I know for myself, whenever we're recording podcasts, it's normally in someone's living room. We're not normally doing it in a studio treated environment. After that is the EQ. Now, it all depends on the voice. You're always going to want a little bit different EQ on the voice, depending on the microphone, depending on the person. It's going to change a little bit. I normally try not to do too detrimental of an EQ to anybody. It's all about keeping it clear without losing the body of the voice, but also keeping it full without losing the clarity, if that makes sense. So most of the time, the frequencies I look for are around 150, 125 to 200 hertz, and then also 500 hertz depending on the person. Sometimes if there's a little too much sibilance, I'll pull down 8K, but I've got another plugin to show you later that'll help with that. And it doesn't have to be the REQ again. This is just general EQ. Any EQ can make a difference. Now, this EQ that you're looking at here is because I was using a very different mic than anyone else had. This was on my friend Esteban, and let me see if I can find a spot. I'm gonna play this section for you, play it without the EQ and then the EQ to show you why I went with an EQ like this.
And I knew it was just going to take a little bit to like coax that out of him. But yeah, like before the show, I was like, bro. And I knew it was just going to take a little bit to like coax that out of him. But yeah, like before the show, I was like, bro, you just.
So if you're listening like I am, there's still a bit of body to the voice once you turn the EQ on, but it's not overpowering low end that just sounds unpleasant. You want it to sound like the person is in front of you, because the whole point of the podcast is listening to a conversation, and it sounds like you're in the room listening and actively being a part of whatever the topic is. Now, granted, some voices come across a little bit deeper on the podcasts, and really that's just because it sounds nice. There's a reason that in audiobooks and other narrations, there's always a little bit of a deeper voice being used. Morgan Freeman has a popular voice because there's a depth to it. There's something about listening to a warm voice that is just soothing to people's ears. After EQ is compression. Now, the whole point of compression is to bring down super high signals while bringing up the low signals. These basic settings are my normal go-to when I'm editing a podcast. I am using the CLA 76 from Waves. There are other compressors you can use. For instance, the C1 compressor, I'll set the ratio to 3. Anywhere from 2 to 4 for the ratio honestly sounds fine. You don't want to compress too much whenever you're doing dialogue. So adjust the ratio anywhere from 2 to 4. Attack and release accordingly. I normally take a little bit slower of an attack so it's not so obvious when the compressor is hitting. And then just a slow release again so it's not quite so obvious that there are dips and rises in the sound of the voice. Compressors can also be used to make up signal gain. I'll play a segment here from my good friend Scott, and we'll play it with and without the compressor just to show you how the compressor can affect the voice.
Like, is he far enough along in his process of like growing as a musician? You said, like, is he far enough along in his process of like growing as a musician? You said with one rehearsal, yes.
As you can see, there is a little bit more life to his voice with the compressor, so it does help a lot. Next, I like to use a de-esser. So now you saw me mention on the EQ that sometimes I will cut a little bit around 8K to help with sibilance. But the best way to handle sibilance is with a de-esser. So the whole point of a de-esser is to do what the name implies. It cuts the whistling S sound on someone's voice or the t kind of sounds. Anything that's up there, that's normally anywhere above 7K. It's normally like 7 to 10K for those frequencies. If you use a de-esser, the whole point of a de-esser is it acts as a compressor, but just for those frequencies. You set the threshold and it'll read when those frequencies are going above here. You set the frequency here on the side. I have it set up as a shelf going all the way down to 5,500 hertz, and my threshold kicks in around minus 34-ish. Again, we'll listen to Scott, and I'm going to show you what the de-esser can do. We'll throw it in bypass and then turn it back on.
3-piece electric bass drums. And then we went to Brian Thomas's show, shout out 3-piece electric bass drums. And then we went to Brian Thomas's show, shout out.
You hear on those S's, there's just this tiny bit of harshness that's there when the de-esser is not on. Luckily, he doesn't have that harsh of a voice when it comes to the sibilance, but it's still nice to just round it out overall because it can get grating after listening for 30 minutes to the same voice. Now, I did say that there were 5 plugins, and I've only listed 4, which was the noise remover, EQ, compressor, and de-esser. Now, the last one that I like to use is on my master bus. I like to use another compressor. You can use the BX Master Desk like I do. It's not required. You could use the same compressor that you used on the voices again, but with just a couple different settings. This helps bring all of the voices together. No one voice will be more powerful than the others, and it helps bring them all up to a listenable level rather than them being too quiet. Now, it doesn't have to be this plugin, but I will say if you go to the Plugin Alliance website, you can get the BX Master Desk Classic for free, which is what I'm using right now. It comes with presets, which I'm using right now. The mix bus start here. I use this on mastering my podcasts, mastering singles every now and then. It's a good all-around plugin, especially for the fact that it's free. So what I'm gonna do is throw it in bypass and then kick it back on. And hopefully it will show you the difference in the levels of output.
Honest, it was my bad. I overfilled the lineup. No cap.
You got hype. That's what happened.
I got hype.
Yeah.
I was like,
yes, you did.
dude, what if we have...
We have
You're just like, hey, can we do this? I'm like, can I stop you? Honest, it was my bad. I overfilled the lineup. No cap.
You got hype. That's what happened.
I got
you
hype.
did.
I was like,
yes, you did.
dude, what if we have...
We have
You're just like, hey, can we do this? I'm like, can I stop you?
Just all of it.
When you have it kicked on, it brings everything and makes it a little bit more level. It's not quite so wide in the output level range. You're not going from super quiet like someone talking to super loud when everyone's trying to talk over each other. It keeps it all around the same range, so it's not sudden loud bursts that are hitting the listener's ears. So that's my 5 plugins to use whenever I'm editing a podcast. If you have any that you think are important that I missed, let me know. I'd love to try them out, and maybe I'll make a revised edition of this video. It's always a learning process, and I never want to claim that I know everything. As much as I'm making these videos to help other people out, I want to learn myself. But hopefully this helps you improve your podcast. If you realize that something like this isn't quite up your avenue, reach out to an audio engineer like myself or anyone else. There are a lot of freelance audio engineers that will work on your podcasts, edit them, and make them sound good for you at reasonable prices. But while this might not be in your area of expertise, it doesn't have to be difficult. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe, and until next time.